When a new year begins, it's time to close out the old one. This is the time of year that us accountants and bookkeepers generally get the most requests for help getting caught up on all the bookkeeping throughout the whole year. Fortunately, thanks to the combination of Ledgersync and Vendorsync, it's easier than ever to grab your client's information and process it into QuickBooks Desktop faster than ever before. To accomplish this is very simple. It does require a Ledgersync account and a Vendorsync account, but you'll start off in Ledgersync and you're going to go to your client that you have their bank account set up, and you can request backdating services to get you all of your transactions all the way back to the beginning of 2018. So from my dashboard here, we'll click on the backdating January here. Once we have all of the transactions, we would go through Ledgersync and we'll process all of the check details. So if you have check names, you're going to go through, write the different check names onto each one of them one at a time. So when you export the rest of the transactional information, that will be there, but we can do everything else in Vendorsync much faster. So on my screen here, you can see we've got a couple different accounts. We would choose the account we need to do our backdating on, and we would simply click the backdating this account. You've got the drop-down arrow to give you a little bit more details. So if there's multiple accounts, each backdating will pull all information that's linked to that username and password or security credentials for that institution. So if you have multiple accounts, it will pull multiple accounts from that same bank. Once you finish that backdating, you'll head over to the checks page and you'll be able to pull up images of all the check details, and depending on the banks, your deposit images also. So by going in and entering in your payee names for the checks and a memo, all of that information will transfer over to your transaction page, which is where we want to go so we can export all the transactions and then pull all that information over into Vendorsync to quickly process the data. From the transaction table, we can see now that we have all of our transactions listed out. We've even filtered or sorted by the check number, and that's showing that we've got our payee names and our descriptions on each of those checks. So when we have all that information, let's go to Export. We'll go to QuickBooks, and that's going to drop a QBO file for us. That way, we can go to Vendorsync, pull up the account we need to pull everything into, and we can import that file. So we'll go File, Import, browse for the one we just did, or we could drag and drop it in, open, and upload. Now this will take a quick moment. It's going to process information, and it's going to populate all of our transactions for us. So we've got about 165 of them. Immediately, you're going to notice what we've had happen because we have payee names in. We've pulled the vendor names up from QuickBooks Desktop, and the payee names are being recognized in the different transaction memos. We're starting to see automatic suggestions for all of these different names. So you would quickly review through, make sure that you've got information correctly. If you're happy with where they're at, you can simply come up here and you can accept all suggestions, or you can check off the ones that you want to do. We'll do accept all suggestions for now. When we do this, keep an eye on the account column on the side here. You're going to notice that when we assign the payee name, it's also going to provide us the category name as well. Any vendors that we do not actually have the category name set up for it yet, when you go to export, you'll do that part of the process, making it the most efficient workflow possible. So now, all we need to do, we can sort again by our payee name, find the rest of the blanks that we have, and we can start whittling away at those. With Vendorsync, you also have the ability to use filter for text. Let's do our MSFT. So MSFT for Microsoft. Instead of having to go in and do one at a time, we do a quick search and filter. Check the top box. Let's select the vendor this time. Come in, and we can update all of the selected items. That simple. When it comes time to do the export, we would clear our filter here, and we're going to pretend we went through and did all the transactions real quick. What we can do at that point, we will select all the transactions that we wish to export. You can actually sort by the export date to shrink it down, and you can filter by the date ranges also to make sure that you're only exporting the sequence of transactions that you need to do. So we'll come in, we'll go Export, Selected Transactions, and before this drops the file for you to then pull into QuickBooks Desktop, if you have vendors you have not added categories to and haven't made that relationship, this great pop-up will show up, and it gives you the ability that you can start to assign appropriate categories to each one, only having to do it once. Once these are done, you would sync to QuickBooks. It ties the relationship together for them, and when you pull the transactions into QuickBooks Desktop through the bank feeds, it's going to auto-suggest all the transactions with the payee names and the categories for you. We hope this workflow is interesting to you. If you've got some questions or would like a personal demo, please feel free to reach out. We're here to help. And as always, here's wishing you guys a very successful week.